Mic check. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Developers, can you hear me? Can you see me? Press 1 or blink twice in the comments. Happy Friday, kombucha time. Shout out to Chiquito sponsoring today's kombucha drink. Keeping me refreshed. How's everyone doing out there? I'm totally flipping out already with today's topic. Throwing bottle caps. Let's go to the comments. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I always panic and think you can't hear anything. 2? What's 2 mean? 6 it. Loud and clear? Awesome. Thanks, Sarah. Welcome to a Friday live stream. Today's topic, as you may have guessed, is PHP. We're going to pay some bills, but we're also going to talk about PHP today. We're also going to do a roll call, some just amazing announcements, some great stuff going on in the Discord right now. Let me talk about what's going on in the immediate future. I have been working hard on my 5th book. It's called Portfolio Surgery. It drops November 16th. This book is designed to help you transform your portfolio. If you're not getting the callbacks, you're not getting the job offers, might have to do with your portfolio. So what this book does is show you 5 methods for transforming your projects. And we go through them. Basically, the first half of the book is general pointers with the portfolio itself. And then the second half, we go through the 5 methods for your projects. And so what you're doing is following along with me, but also implementing your own solutions to your projects. What do I mean by that? Well, one of the methods I show you is how to add a feature. And so as I'm adding a feature to my project, which is a popular bootcamp project, which we totally transform, you are challenged to take a project and change along with me. Change that feature or add that feature as I'm changing it and adding it in my own project. So they're really like labs. This book, again, drops November 16th. It's also a course available right now on RealToughCandy.io. Our featured course this month is Freelance Newbie. If you're learning how to become a web developer who freelances and makes money with those skills, check out Freelance Newbie. That's on RealToughCandy.io. That is also a book. So I did want to announce that because this is really exciting. I've had some great feedback with my books. People in the chat, a lot of people in the chat right now have read many of my books. So thank you. Thank you for the great feedback. If you're feeling skeptical about what I can offer you, as far as giving you help on your web development journey, read the reviews. All my previous books, How to Get a Job in Web Development, Freelance Newbie, Tiny YouTube, and Real Tough Software, the reviews speak for themselves. Those are totally unsolicited. People leave those on their own accord, and I'm very happy to see what people have been saying about them. Also, same thing goes for RealToughCandy.io. We have a testimonial section. If you're feeling dubious, you're feeling doubtful about what I can offer you, check our testimonial section. That also speaks for itself. So, paid my bills. Let's talk about PHP. Now, as many of you know, the other day, I was feeling a little distraught. I had reviewed the Colt Steel Bootcamp, which has been totally revamped, head to toe. So what is it, like 60 some hours of video material? It's absolutely insane. Every video on that Udemy course has been updated. And so we were going through it. We were doing the review. I was tearing down some portions of it and showing you guys the things that have been changed. The migration guide, like I've heard of migration guides for big software projects or like, database upgrades, but an actual course having a migration guide, that's how you know it's a pretty big deal. So we were going through that course, and as I was investigating the copy, like the little sales pitch, one of the things said was, we don't teach PHP or other outdated technologies. And as someone my primary purpose with this channel as Real Tough Candy is helping onboard people and getting them into the industry. That is my main objective, and that's where nearly all of my creative decisions, my business, every decision I make virtually is coming from that context. Is okay, how am I going to integrate this into my mission of helping people get into this industry? So when I see a comment like that, it's not because I'm personally I'm not a personal evangelist for PHP. I see it as an opportunity for new developers. And I have seen, it's not to pick on Cold Steel, because as you've seen in my videos, I think he's freaking A+. He's amazing. Absolutely. That bootcamp is absolutely incredible. 600,000 people just in that course alone. Like, he has more than, I think, probably 1 million students by now just on Udemy. So don't get that wrong. And this is going way past just one person. I see it time and time again with, what do you want to call them? Influencers, like big time influencers. I have a pretty solid subscription, pretty solid subscriber base. Like, I am very just blown away by how many people have followed me and tuned into what I'm saying. But there are people much larger than me and much more influential. And unfortunately, so many of them poo-poo PHP. And so today we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about hype-driven development. We're going to talk about why we keep seeing the same technologies in these courses. And then we're going to do a job check. Because every time I hear someone say PHP is dead, PHP is outdated, when you put it in when you compare it to the jobs available for new developers, it's just like, that argument is, I guess I need to better articulate it, because I'm just coming up empty here. Like, when people say those types of things, it's almost like a type of gatekeeping, because WordPress, hate to break it to you, runs at PHP. And that's another thing a lot of people will poo-poo and say, well, that's outdated, don't bother. Listen, WordPress is a wonderful way to get introduced to web development. It's a great entry point. And as someone who helps people get in the industry, I'm looking for entry points. And PHP is an awesome entry point. And it sucks, because a lot of people who are in the same industry are like, yeah, PHP, don't bother. I totally disagree, obviously. So we're going to look at some jobs. We're going to compare it to Node also. We're just going to quickly look at this kind of thing. I can plug in any city. I'm on Indeed.com. For those of you who don't know, it's a pretty popular job board, but you could go to any job board, really. You could go to LinkedIn. You could go to developer-specific job board. Doesn't matter where. Monster. Pop in PHP and then pop in a city, and then pop in Node and then pop in a city. And it's not to dump on Node, because Node's a great skill too, but it's just to illustrate PHP jobs are plentiful and very good for newbies in a lot of situations. So I'm going to go to the comments here. We're going to do a check-in, because I saw we have 2 moderators here today, which I'm very pumped about. Sarah and Paradoodly-Doo holding down the chat. Then we're going to talk about this hype-driven development thing. And keep it positive. We're trying to keep it positive here, because, again, this is about getting people into the industry and succeeding and getting onboarded so that they can have a great career in this field. This is not just a job. This is a trade. It's also a career. And a lot of people, for a lot of people, it's the first time that they've had a career. I don't want to say most of us, but I think maybe I could say that possibly and get away with it. Most of us are used to the hourly mentality. I know I am. Like, it's rare that I've actually had a career and where I can plan years ahead and be like, you know what, here's where I want to be in a few years, and here's where I will be in a few years. And you can keep upgrading and going forward. Just especially, and I can't speak for people outside of the US, but I think for most of us in the US, it's safe to say that we are used to this hourly mentality where it's like, okay, another hour completed, I'll take my $9.50 or $18.50, my $27.50, whatever it is. But with this field, that's transformed. So yeah, let's go to the comments and see what's going on. Let's see who all is in attendance here. Mr. Fasco, what's up? Alex Little, Nick D, what's going on? Mr. D Cobra, Zia Main, Robbo the Fossil, Go Price Go, what's up? Lots of Discord users here too. Lorelei Palmer, how's it going? Average Joe, lots of new users here, lots of new subscribers. Great to see some new faces. Play On Mob, Namood, what's up? We already have some great comments. Okay, let's go to Nick D. So, first of all, I get a lot of comments in the chat. I try to get to them. A lot of them I can't. If you want me to read a comment for sure, send me a super chat. It pops up, as you can see, right here in this area. Otherwise, there's no guarantee I can see it and respond to it. We've already had some wonderful comments though, and I'll return to those in a moment. Oh yeah, it's one of these live streams where I'm double fisting the beverages here because I'm about to get worked up. All right, so this all starts with something called hype-driven development. Let me give you a little background about my use and my experience with PHP. Before I started my enterprise development journey, I was freelancing for about a year plus. And how I ended up in freelancing wasn't because I was a code whiz. It was because of WordPress. WordPress enabled me to start monetizing my very limited skill set almost immediately. Also, small businesses in my area and small businesses in many other places often benefit from WordPress sites because it just fits their problem set so nicely. Whether we're talking about basic e-commerce stuff. Now, to be clear, we do have some e-commerce competition, but you can do e-commerce on WordPress. And what I really like about it is that no matter if it's a WordPress, it's a blog, it's fill in the blank, whatever they need for their business, they can take it over. You can show the client how to use it. So if you don't want to do a monthly service package, we're like, oh, geez, they want me to go in and fix this one thing. If you don't want to be bothered by clients, you can train them how to use it. No code necessary. And what's awesome about it is, and this is what people who don't use WordPress don't understand. So they dump on WordPress, but they don't use it. There are many entry points to WordPress, and there are many layers. You can be a full-on full-stack developer and use WordPress. You could know nothing about code and use WordPress. Most of us fall between those two polarities. WordPress is very much still alive. The last time I checked, over 1/3 of the web is built using WordPress. It's not something to poo-poo or dismiss. So that was my introduction to PHP because the back end of WordPress uses PHP. And to be clear, PHP is a back-end language used for building web apps. It gets a bad reputation because for a lot of years, people who weren't really developers were using it to build some really crappy websites and web apps. It also has a reputation for being outdated or slow. Now, 5 or 10 years ago, those were valid complaints. We now have PHP 7. We are soon to have PHP 8, which had major improvements in speed and performance. We also have something called Laravel, which is a framework for PHP. And Laravel is very exciting, and that's something you won't hear people who dump on PHP talk about because Laravel is really freaking cool. It helps speed up your app development. It's fun to work with, and it was long overdue. So we're not only that, WordPress, so PHP WordPress is like this. They are inseparable. Not only that, but we have over a decade. I think Node came out in 2009. And so we have 15 years of web development prior to that. When did I think PHP came out in 97. Could be wrong. I think it was sometime in the late 90s. I think it was 97. So we have over a decade of PHP without Node environment here on the web. So we have a lot of these web apps. Fun fact, Facebook was built with PHP. Facebook still uses PHP. But we don't talk about that. That's a dirty little secret about Facebook. So the more you look around, and I could go on, I could go on for hours about this, but the more you look, the more you're going to see these sites built with PHP. Now, I myself have some issues with PHP. Number one, the syntax is terrible. I think most of us can come to an agreement on that. Many of us can. Some people probably enjoy the syntax, but I don't. I think compared to even JavaScript, it's pretty bad. All right, so that's kind of like maybe like a topical complaint. The other thing is, and I'm talking from a newbie perspective also, as well as intermediate and even advanced. Even people who have been developing in PHP for a long time have complaints about it too. I mean, every language has its pros and cons. But here's the thing. As web developers, we're really spoiled with the Mozilla docs, with the web docs. MDN is frickin' top-notch, A+. The PHP docs are not that great. They kind of have like a Stack Overflow layout where people can add comments to the documentation. So if you go to like, I don't know, I don't want to spend too much time. What if we did like implode? And there's usually comments. They did have at one time comments down here. Okay, so here's the comment section. These are all comments by anonymous users, and they have some of the top rated comments are 15 years old. Obviously not something you want to take at face value because like it's ancient history at this point. See right here, the top comment with a note on implode. So this is the implode function. It joins array elements with a string. Blah, blah, blah. That's not important. But if you wanted to read more about it, you're like, I wonder XYZ. So you go down here and the top answer is 11 years old. It should be noted that an array with one or no elements works fine, for example. So lots has changed since then. I mean, lots has changed since just last year. So that's, this is just, not good. But what I'm saying is the critiques perhaps are valid, that, PHP isn't all that great. We could say that for any language, though. Is there a perfect language? No, there's not. There's not. And so we get into this thing called hype-driven development, where it's not about the jobs. It's not about the language that can effectively and efficiently solve a problem. It's about the shiny new toy dangling in front of you saying, oh my God, we have to start developing in Svelte. Dino. Anybody remember Dino? Just throwing that out there. We have these really cool tools. And so, and they swing like this in front of us like a pendulum, and our eyes start glazing over. We get swirly eyes, and we forget about things like PHP and just how big of a footprint it really has. And so these influencers, these courses, it's just everywhere. It's based on hype. So that's why we're not hearing about PHP, because it's not the cool thing. What's cool right now? React. There are a lot of Angular jobs out there, but you know what's not cool? Angular. And I could go on, but it's disappointing, and I hope when I get 1 million subscribers, I'll still have the passion I do about PHP and how it helps junior developers, because I'm going to start correcting the ship here. I think a lot of people are really missing out. And it's tough too, because I've always been tempted to do a PHP course, but that's not the issue necessarily. The issue is people actually saying, you know what, I need to learn PHP. And because I'm in such a minority outlook with PHP, that I myself and the few other people who are like, you know what, PHP is where it's at. There is one person in particular who comes to mind who is teaching it, who does still espouse it, and that's Steph Mischuk. He actually has a platform that I'm reviewing soon on my sister channel, Tech Course Review. Hey, if you're not subscribed to that and you want to see some course reviews, check it out. Paradoodly, our link provider extraordinaire, can you toss that link in the chat? I just dropped a review yesterday, Colt Steele versus Andre Negoy, and I announced a winner. Time-stamped for your pleasure. But I'm going to be reviewing his platform. It's called Studio Web. He's one of the very few people who still to this day are like, yeah, PHP. What I like about Steph is that he's not hype-driven. And he's definitely one of the few. He is not hype driven, and he won't blather on about the latest and greatest JavaScript framework because he's not a JavaScript developer. He's not a PHP developer. He's a programmer. And so that's the other issue we do see sometimes, is that people get really hyped about a certain tech, and they're almost like unofficial product evangelists or language evangelists, because they see things through the Vue lens, or they see things through the React lens, which is fine, which is perfectly fine. But again, there's more out there, and it's from my perspective, I see it from the context of where can we get people entered in this career field? Is it going to be through Svelte? No. There is a time and place for Svelte. There's a time and place for Dino and all these fun technologies, and it's called personal projects. If you're trying to get a job, if you're trying to get into the career field, gotta focus on who's hiring for what. Which takes me to my second point. Go to Indeed.com right now and type in your nearest large city. Mid-size, I don't care. Something over 20,000 people preferably. Ames, Iowa. Type in PHP, put in the city, and then find it. Hit find jobs, and then do the same thing for Node. Every course out there is teaching Node as a backend, but some of these cities have more PHP jobs than Node. Interesting. And that's really where hype-driven development ends its first iteration. Once you get inside the industry, there's also hype-driven development, but it's in different forms. This is like the first version of hype-driven development, is like pushing JavaScript everywhere. There's more than one language, and there's more than one language that companies are looking for. So, guys, before 2009, all we had for web backends, people, listen to me. Listen, we had PHP. We also have backends in something like languages like Java. Now, that's something you don't hear a lot about. If you take a college course, maybe. When I was taking my Oracle database certificate, I took a few courses for the certificate. One of my courses was Java, and one of our homework assignments, I was just looking at it last night. I was building some sort of web backend. I don't even remember what the project was. I just saw a few code snippets from something I was working on. I was like, oh yeah, I took that course. I was actually building these smaller backends with Java. Like, there are places out there that are hiring for Java developers who know web technologies. Oh yeah, Java's huge. And it's not just for desktop. It's not just for whatever else. It's web too. Not as explosive as JavaScript, but still out there. Proprietary tech, that's another thing that isn't hype driven, that really they're looking for a lot of people. We were talking about this on a live stream earlier this year when the Rona first started getting some traction here in the US, and these unemployment benefits were exploding with people claiming, all these claimants, and the state governments needed people who knew COBOL because the technology is 30, 40 years old and they're on mainframes. So, and there was one person who was like in our chat, we were here right in the live chat on the live stream, who said, I taught myself COBOL. I was doing some other tech work, taught myself COBOL, and now I'm contracting with the government. And guess what? They get paid. If you're contracting with the government, here's a pro tip, you get paid a lot. Which is awesome to hear. Like, okay, and that is something you're just never going to hear about anywhere on the popular places, and even the non-popular places. You have to almost be like an insider or stick around on a lot of these live streams where we talk about the not so popular things that are going to help you get inside the industry. Okay, I'm going to take a drink of my kombucha. We're going to go to the comments because I know a lot of people are probably riled up. I'm pretty sure my mods have had to ban 10 to 15 people by now because this is an incendiary topic. This is getting people I can't even speak. This is getting people really riled up. Let's check out the comments together, huh? All right. Paradoodly, thanks for the super chat. Paradoolie's checking in. You're killing it as usual. Rock on. Thanks, Para. Zaya says, outdated, savage. PHP devs not happy. You know what? That's the other thing. I want to call out to my PHP developers out there. I'm not going to say you have a responsibility to stand up for your language because you can do whatever you want. However, as PHP developers or as people who develop with PHP, we're getting dumped on day and night. And so this is also a live stream for me to stand up for a technology that has provided me an income. Because I do work outside of RealToughCandy. I run my own business outside of RealToughCandy. So I'm also speaking from experience making money and running a business. PHP is part of that entire operation. If PHP was totally off my radar, I might still talk about it, but I wouldn't be as adamant. I get adamant about it because it has helped me personally and a lot of other people. So if you're a PHP developer, all I'm saying is we're getting dumped on, we're getting hated on, and we have been for quite some years. And it's just not fair. It's just not right. Let's go to these comments. Zaya says, do I want to get into the industry if I have to write PHP every day, though? You know, a lot of it is just maintaining apps. Most jobs we're not. This is the one big difference between training and working at a dev job is that when you're training, you're doing a lot of this and you're actually doing a lot of coding, you're doing architecting, you're planning out these projects. When you get plopped into a job, the code usually has already been written. So one of your main priorities is maintaining it. And so the bigger challenge to you as a developer is knowing the syntax, understanding the components, rather than being able to whip something up on the spot or rather than developing this whole new project. Now, of course, yes, if you're working at a startup or you're, starting a new project at a job, obviously it's going to be a little more intensive. You're going to be coding more. But for typical 9-to-5s, especially at these more established companies, you're coming in and you're maintaining, you're updating, you're refactoring. So it is a little less of a cognitive load, but it is still challenging. So, yeah, good comment. There's a lot of great comments I have to get to. Play on Mob says WordPress is a horrible way to learn. I'm listening, Play on Mob, but you're going to have a better argument than that. Derp CGI Main says, still pushing on for an entry-level job, knowing only HTML and CSS, but seeing they want JavaScript and React at least. Got offered a contract job to teach and hire, but would owe $20,000, so I turned down. Sigh. Orlando Rodriguez says, PHP and Laravel, awesome. Yeah, and I mean, as I touched upon earlier, Laravel really is awesome. It's exciting, and it was long overdue. We do have other PHP frameworks. We have PHP libraries and these other, extensible bits we can use. But Laravel is really exciting. And a lot of it, too, is how sexy can you make it? People are like, well, people respond to things that look aesthetic. And the Laravel designs and their landing page, their sales pages are really aesthetic. And I think that's a good thing. As humans, we're pretty vain. And so no matter how powerful language is, if it doesn't have that curb appeal, it's going to take a backseat to something that does. And JavaScript, like it or not, has a very high curb appeal, a high value curb appeal, because we have so many people talking about it. We have people working with it. It is the language, the de facto language of the web. JavaScript everywhere is an attitude that a lot of popular people have adopted. So that means JavaScript everywhere. You take one language, you apply it to everything. So there's no like, well, what's the syntax? How do I do this? It's just different implementations. We also have a lot of course creators and there's a brain trust in JavaScript. And PHP has a lot of smart people too, but it just doesn't have the curb appeal that JavaScript has, and so it's tough. Not only are the influencers not talking about it, but people inside the community aren't as many, number one. And number two, that there is more of an aesthetic push with JavaScript and making things look sexy and making things, look appealing. PHP is a working person's language, period, dot. It pays the bills. Yes, it's unattractive, but it pays the bills. So Laravel, though, I'm glad you mentioned that, because again, Laravel is something that did kind of like up the aesthetic, and it's just a cool thing to use. It's fun. It's long overdue. Let's go back to these comments. Sorry, too many bubbles over on the side here. Donovan with the $9.99 super chat. Donovan, what's going on? Shout out to Donovan, one of my longest running subscribers. Great topic, RTC. I started with PHP to help me understand JavaScript programming and programming concepts in general. Yes, developers. I interviewed Donovan. I know I mentioned every time I read Donovan's comment, I'm like, I interviewed this guy. But it was a really good interview. Paradoodly or Sarah, if you guys have that link available, pop that link. I interviewed Donovan. He started out as an IT guy. Now, Donovan, correct me if I'm wrong, because I have the memory of a broken toaster. But he started out with IT, then he did LAMP stack stuff. And the LAMP stack, that's a great little stack. It's actually a big stack. It's Linux, Apache, PHP, and MySQL. LAMP stack is great. And you can do a lot of stuff with it. Knowledge of Linux is really important too, for any web developer. So even if you decide that PHP isn't your thing, with the LAMP stack, you're still dealing with databases. I'm so pulled. I'm pulled in like 5 different directions right now. I'm really hyped about this live stream. You're learning about databases, you're learning about a programming language, and you're learning about Linux. In Linux is just core for any web developer. Even if you're not doing web, any type of programming, even IT, knowing Linux is going to unlock a kingdom. Having that key to Linux, when you unlock it, your world will change. When I discovered Linux and the command line, working on the command line, it was a revelation. My life was seriously transformed. Like, there have been a few transformative moments in my beginning stages of becoming a web developer, and discovering Linux, discovering the command line and the power of the command line, getting completely off the GUI and going straight, having a closer relationship with the computer, which sounds really freaking weird, but you feel more of the intensity, and I felt more of a power, because there is more power on the command line, and getting those commands down and writing bash scripts, checking out different shells, the bash shell, corn, fish. They have some really weird names, but working with those types of technologies helped me become a better developer, and it just kept me motivated, and it opened my eyes to the power of technology, and it's what kept me passionate. One of the things that's kept me passionate and very excited about computers. Because really my interest lies less in I enjoy web development a lot. I'm not passionate about it. And let's be clear, you don't have to be passionate to get a job in this industry. You have to have a certain set of criteria. Passion is not on that list. But something I am passionate about is discovery. And discovering things through my knowledge of computers, and discovering more about computers, discovering more about programming. My real passion is that discovery, and it happened numerous times throughout my early career, but one of those in a specific instance was learning about Linux and the command line. Thanks, Donovan, for the super chat. Before I go back to the comments, so let's talk about where you could learn PHP. Now I have a little checklist here, and learning strategies is last on my list. We're going to talk about more stuff with PHP, but learning strategies is on the bottom of this list, because that's a problem. We have JavaScript courses for every man, woman, and child, and Martian. Every living thing on this planet could take a JavaScript course, and they would all be different courses. We have too many. The world doesn't need another JavaScript course. If it's really good, okay, that's an exception. Let me put it this way, the world doesn't need another average JavaScript course. I could recommend good ones all day. What I can't recommend all day is PHP platforms or PHP courses. There just aren't that many. And going back to the brain trust thing, most of the bulk of our brain power is in JavaScript. And so one of the benefits of that is that we create a lot better products when there's more competition. And because there are so many people in JavaScript, we have more competition, we have better products, i.e. books, blog posts, Udemy or courses, Udemy courses, YouTube videos, etc. Because the pool's smaller in PHP, we just don't have those resources on their A+ game. Now, again, next week I'm going to be reviewing Steph Mischuk's platform. I don't want to spoil the video, but that is a place where you may be able to go to pick up some PHP. We also have the long-awaited, I know it's probably never going to be released because we've been waiting, as Sarah, our moderator, knows, we've talked about this many times. The John Duckett PHP and MySQL book has been pushed back 3 years. Every month when I check, it seems like it's another 6 months away. Now they're saying January 2021 or something. I'm not counting on it. I really hope it ends up being so, because I need something I can hold up and say, buy this book for PHP. Because right now it's a patchwork of learning materials. There's a course that actually Donovan recommended where I did tune in. What is it? It's by Edwin Diaz, and it's on Udemy. Now I will give you a warning here. Edwin is an awesome instructor. I absolutely loved his enthusiasm. It's clear he wants to help people. However, the videos are not edited, and I think the course is way too long for what it offers. Is it a start? Yeah, it's a start. It's better than not taking anything. It's better than just saying, you know what, it's just not even worth it. Edwin Diaz, also, like, just basic stuff, W3 schools. If you're just trying to, like, get your feet wet with the syntax and do some basic things, W3 schools might help you out there. But as far as an immersive, let's build some projects, we're spoiled with JavaScript. We're spoiled with the Mozilla docs. We're spoiled with courses. We're spoiled with great projects. If anyone has any other resources for PHP, please let me know. Now, one other strategy I was thinking about this last night, and I don't like coming online and being like, yeah, sorry guys, I can't offer any resources for you. One strategy would be to learn JavaScript, because if you're trying to become a web developer, you're going to have to learn it one way or the other. Learn JavaScript, get a fair grasp of it. You don't have to be a genius, but you should be fairly comfortable with it. You should be a 4 or 5 out of 10 with your comfort level, and going like this with your upward. It should be an upward trajectory, not like, yeah, I'm a 5 in JavaScript right now, next week I'm probably going to be a 2 in JavaScript. Like, you should be progressing with it. Get a good handle on it, and PHP is going to be a lot easier, and you may not need to enroll in a course. You may not need to buy a book. You may be able to find a mentor, find a Discord group, and build your own projects and get creative with it using the documentation. Again, I know I just complained about the documentation, but there are other resources too. The basic stuff here, you'll be just fine. It's the finer aspects when you're working on bigger projects where it's like, oh, what about this? For basic projects, you're going to be just fine. Also, try and find a mentor. I tell this to everyone, not just people who are aspiring to become PHP developers or work with PHP, but a mentor can really help you on your journey, especially when it comes to PHP though. Because again, we are lacking in quality resources. I'm just hoping that John Duckett book blows my face off in a good way. I would love to have a go-to, because people ask me about Angular, React, Vue, backend, JavaScript, backend frameworks and all this. By the way, Next.js conference is on the 27th. Is anyone else going? It's free. If you are a React developer or interested in learning more about React and the finer elements of it in React framework. Can you believe that? The React library has frameworks for it. That's the crazy web development world we live in. Sounds like fun though, and it's free. I've been signing up for a lot of virtual conferences this year, paid or free. They're both, all of them are just really neat to see that they've been able to go online and share with everyone around the world. There's one in particular, Open Source North, which has been canceled. They're not doing an online thing, hoping next year they're going to be doing it, because that was the first conference I went to, and that was another life-changing event where I didn't understand a thing, like nothing. It was very intense, but it was life-changing. And I'd like to go back and tell the organizers what a great impact it had on me, and they're part of the reason I'm here right now. That and my meetup groups that I was going to, specifically Women Who Code. And a lot of these meetups, I know I'm taking a break from talking about PHP specifically, but a lot of these meetups are going virtual. So believe it or not, there are PHP meetups. Go to meetup.org, meetup.com. I'm not sure which one it is, probably both. Take you to the same site, but check for virtual meetups with PHP. There's a PHP group. A lot of these bigger cities do have PHP groups. Certainly JavaScript, but also a lot of cities are doing PHP. That could be a great place to find a mentor and ask, what are some resources that you would recommend to me, and getting some more perspectives on that. Let's go to the comments. Paradoodly do. Smash the like button, peeps. Thanks, Paradoodly. Blowing it up with the super chat. Appreciate you. Tech Rally says, do you think it's an obligation for influencers to talk about PHP more? Seems like they just make new technology courses to sell instead. Oh, that's a really great question, Tech Rally. I'm going to read it again because I need a second to think about it. Do you think it's an obligation for influencers to talk about PHP more? Seems like they just make new technology courses to sell instead. I'll say this. If the influencer is... If one of their intentions is to help people get into the industry of software development, specifically web development, then I think they have an obligation. What I see, and I totally get this because we're all human and I totally get it. We have preferences. Like, there are certain technologies I can't stand. There are certain technologies I love. And sometimes, that personal preference does get a hold of me, but I have to remember my job when I'm on camera, my job when I'm writing a blog post, my job when I'm writing a book, creating a course, doing a podcast, my job is to onboard newcomers. And if I let my personal biases get in the way of that, I'm not doing my job and I'm failing people. And that's not something to be proud of. I could say all day, X, Y, Z, I hate it, don't do it. The better thing is to say, I don't recommend you pursue this path because the job market suggests there aren't a lot of jobs. That's why I don't recommend, that's why I'm not gung-ho, I should say, about MongoDB. It's something we see in a lot of these courses because it's hype-driven. MongoDB, if you do your research, it's just not used all that often. And as someone, again, my niche is web development, but I'm also here to help new people. I'm not here to lead them into a hype train where they're not able to find a job because they know technologies that employers just aren't seeking out in their area. And so I think influencers do have an obligation, but it depends on what their motive is, and it depends on why they're doing what they're doing. If someone's just here to sell courses, I'm not going to be like, hey, you should talk about PHP, mister. But, a lot of these people, when you read their mission statement, you read their about section, you read this, you read that, you do some research about the company or the person. The company is the person, so there really is no difference about this entity. And they say, we're here to help people. You can't go dump on PHP because so many entry-level jobs are looking for a developer. So many entry-level jobs require someone to have a knowledge of PHP. Take a look at all these digital agencies. Those are great places for entry. Because a lot of times, most times with digital agencies, they're doing WordPress. Why? Because small businesses are great fits with WordPress. They're just great fits. You're not building Gatsby sites for small businesses for numerous reasons. Gatsby's cool, but as far as commercial adoption and selling it to clients, not happening. A few years ago, I applied to this job in Texas. It was remote. They were looking for a WordPress developer. And this guy asked me, so what are you interested in right now? And I flubbed this interview. We talked for an hour. This guy was really cool. It was a startup. He owned a digital agency. And I was doing WordPress at the time. So I was like, all right, right on. I'll talk to this guy. He said, what technologies are you digging right now? And I said, static sites. And this was before everyone was talking about Gatsby. I said, because SSGs are really cool, static site generators. Really neat. And I was going off on it. And I was just like, pumping out all these statistics, pumping out my knowledge of it and what I had been building with it. And he was like, that's interesting, but I don't know how I'm going to sell that to clients. And I was like, oh man, I just blew this interview, man. I don't have the job because I went on a 20-minute tangent about something that his clients can't even use. So the WordPress thing is, if I wouldn't have mentioned that and gone on a tangent, I probably would have had a follow-up interview. I've had lots of job offers as a newbie, unsolicited, like, hey, do you want to come interview with us? Hey, we like you. Can you come work for us? With WordPress stuff, with these digital agencies. Digital agency work is great for beginners because, again, most times you are working with WordPress. And again, hype-driven development, people are going to take a big steaming crap on it, but guess what? It pays the bills. Trevor says, I want to get into machine language, but I was told to focus on web dev first so I can build real machine learning projects. Would you still say use PHP or should I try to find Python jobs? Trevor, you got a lot going on in that question. I want to get into machine learning, but I was told to focus on web dev first so I can build real machine learning projects. Machine learning, now, here's what I'll say about machine learning. Machine learning, data science, artificial intelligence, languages like Python and R. More employers are looking for someone with a college degree. So if you do have a college degree, your chances of landing a machine learning job are better. If you don't have a college degree, it's going to be an uphill battle. This is what's nice about web development is that it's not as, I got to be careful with my wording here because web development is intellectual, but machine learning, data science, statistical analysis, building the models, you have to have you have to have more brain power to apply. And as a newbie, you may be the smartest person in the room, but you need a credential to signify that. Does that make sense? Web developers, we're a smart group too. We have to because we're problem solvers, but there's less of a pressure to prove it with a credential. Furkan says, why don't you sell Gatsby sites to clients? I don't get it. Because they don't know how to use them. Peter Fisher, what's up? You could use the WordPress API with Gatsby. You would use WordPress like a headless CMS. Good comment. Welcome to Peter, by the way. Peter... Listen, Peter's a big PHP guy. He has his channel out there and he produces. I am so glad you tuned in. That's another resource. Check out Peter Fisher's channel, okay? If this is the Peter Fisher, no, I'm kidding, real worked up. If this is the Peter Fisher channel that I'm thinking of, go check out his channel because he does a lot of PHP stuff. His videos are great and he's in the industry. He's working with PHP presumably day in and day out. The way he makes his videos is very PHP centric. So check it out. Daniel Fernando Murcia Perdomo says, hi, first time here. Welcome, Daniel. Thanks for tuning in. We're talking about PHP. Lots of comments. I'm getting hyped up about this topic because, again, as we've been talking about in this live stream, if you're just joining us, and me, we've been talking about hype-driven development, PHP jobs. Is PHP dead? Is PHP outdated? What else? Jobs versus attitudes, learning strategies, and some good comments here. Let's see. Jarius says Laravel versus Cake PHP versus Zend. Jarius, I would love to talk with you on the Discord more about that. But because most people here are new to PHP, I'm going to refrain from having a conversation about that. But just the three, I've worked with all three of those. Cake PHP and Zend when I was in Enterprise. And Laravel, I did not work with Laravel in Enterprise, but I worked with it outside of Enterprise. And of those three, for me, my personal preference is Laravel. Zen and Cake sounds like a great dinner menu item. Those are both used quite a bit, but for me, it's Laravel. I just like it better. Again, that's my personal. Let's see. Skate Bam Skate says, or sorry, I mispronounced your name. Skate BM Skate. The WordPress CMS isn't even nice to use. Clients don't like it. Using it in my experience, it's just safe because they know it. Most headless CMSs are better than WordPress. Here's the other issue. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with that. There's certainly people who don't want to use WordPress at all. Clients are, they vary in their technical prowess. Most don't know how to code though, so the less code and the less abstract you can make it, the better. And training them on WordPress is relatively straightforward compared to some of these other options. If you're doing e-commerce, there, like I said earlier, there are alternatives like Shopify. But WordPress, it has right now, compared to some of these others. Someone had mentioned Gatsby. Someone had mentioned some other static site generator. But WordPress is something that so many people have heard of. There's a lot to be said for that name recognition. And again, it all comes down to that influencer thing where, how viral is this name? How viral is Gatsby to the average client? When they think of Gatsby, they're thinking of a book written in the 1940s, The Great Gatsby. When they hear WordPress, now not everyone has heard of it, but there are going to be some people out there who are like, oh yeah, my friend has a WordPress site, or I've heard of that. I was doing some research. Clients, again, they vary in their technical prowess. They vary in how much they do their research. But when it comes to selling something and when it comes to them, sometimes clients just come up and say, I need a WordPress site. And they don't know anything about it. They've just heard about it. Most freelancers can relate to that sort of situation where it's like they'll ask for something. They don't know what it does. They just know their friend in a neighboring business uses this technology or uses this suite of technologies. And they say, you know what? I want that. Or sometimes what they'll do, they'll come to you and they'll point out a website. They'll point to the New York Times or something and say, I want that. Or, I saw these technologies listed in a blog post. I want that. They have no idea what they do. They just know they want them. And so that name recognition is really huge. And I'm not against Gatsby no. Yeah, it's not PHP, and it does have some really cool features. But as far as selling it to clients, it's a hard sell because of the name recognition. And sometimes what clients will do, they've had a WordPress site in the past, 10, 15 years ago, and that's what they're familiar with. So I find that sticking with WordPress, for the most part, is what is going to solve their problems most efficiently. Now, as Peter Fisher mentioned, you can get creative with some of these APIs and start mixing and matching headless WordPress. That's a really cool development. Because now you can separate it from some of the rustier parts. And I'm not an evangelist for WordPress. All right? I'm not an evangelist for anything except getting people into the industry. So there are problems I have with WordPress. There are, I can kvetch about some of the features or so-called features all day and night. But again, because it is such a great entry-level technology, and you can use it on different levels. Again, there are diverse entry points when it comes to WordPress. You can know nothing about code. you can know everything about code. And again, most of us fall between those two polarities. And so you're going to find an entry point with that too. Let's go to these comments. Peter Fisher, I hope you're here still. Robbo the Fossil says, a quick tip on the way out the door. Thanks, RTC. Bye, all. Hey, Robbo, thanks for the super chat. Appreciate you popping in. By the way, if you are new here and you are taking the Colt Steel course, I don't know if Robbo is a member of the Colt Steel room, but we just set up a new room in the Discord, a new channel for people who are taking the Colt Steel bootcamp. Shout out to Tug, who suggested we build that room. Shadaz and all the other members currently there. It's a great motivated group of people. They're actually doing a Sunday voice chat meetup on my Discord, on the RTC Discord. And if you're looking for some accountability with that course, you're looking to further yourself with that course, this has nothing to do with PHP, by the way. But I wanted to throw it out there because we've had some great members, some really motivated people join. And it's great to see some new faces and some motivated people upping the stakes with their career and bringing it to the next level. Check it out. Colin Paran, thanks for the channel membership. Welcome to Java Suite. Giving you a big time shout out to Colin. Thank you. So many new people joining the chat today. Welcome all new members, and welcome to my current subscribers too. We have a great mix. This is a really exciting topic. I know at some points in this chat I've been pretty adamant, and it may seem like I'm coming across angry or something. I'm not angry. I'm just very enthusiastic and getting the word out about a technology that many people may have some negative attitudes towards for some dubious reasons. What I'm saying is PHP might be something you want to explore as a developer. That's all I'm saying. Let's go to the chat. Dennis says, I'm new here. Welcome, Dennis. Does it happen on every Friday? Yes, Dennis, it does. 4 p.m. CST. We've been experimenting with start times, but 4 p.m. CST seems to be the sweet spot where we can get a lot of different people from around the world. It's early enough in the States, but it's a little late overseas, but people are still chilling out on a Friday night. So thanks for joining, everyone. I also do pre-recorded videos. I've been doing more of those the past couple weeks. We're going to have some more pre-recorded videos dropping next week too. But the Friday live stream, 4 p.m. CST. Colin Perron says, I'm a data scientist. I meant I have hired people with no degree. Okay. Thanks for the comment. Thanks for the share. That's good information. And if you're watching the replay on this video later, make sure that you're checking out the comments because so much insider information. We have people in the industry. We have people who have been working in the industry 15, 20 years. That includes my Discord room. Just a great collection, a great group. We also have people who are fresh on their journey. And you can get some really good insight with the live chat. Jarius says, well, sorry, what CST? It's Central Standard Time, so Chicago time. Yeah, I'm not good with any other time. We've tried doing mornings. My mod had to ban like 15 people, so 4 p.m. CST is we're sticking with it. Peter says test. Jarius says it's 23:57 now. All right, not too bad. Late night in South Africa. Let's see. I'm sorry, it looks like the Greek person, I can't pronounce your name, but I want to read your comment. In my experience in PHP, I mostly use Symfony, but in terms of high performance, I'd rather use Falcon PHP. It's a pity that Falcon 4 has some bugs, even creating a project with the dev tools. You know, Falcon is a new one for me. I have used Symfony quite a bit, especially in enterprise. Also, what I was using, there was another thing we were using called Cilius. We were working with this enterprise client and exploring some of the options, and Cilius came up. And as a new developer, I was excited about it, but I also felt a little concerned because at the time Cilius was really new and the documentation just wasn't where it needed to be. And I felt as a newer developer, I would have a really hard time with it because it had a really small community. There were like 5 YouTube videos, all from like the Cilius team at that time. I don't know if it's still really small. It's SYLIUS, I believe. But yes, at that time I was like, okay, like I said, I was feeling a little dubious about it. But there are a lot of different things popping up with PHP, and it's a smaller community for a lot of these. Again, and it goes back to that thing with the brain trust and being spoiled with MDN. If Silius had something like Mozilla Docs, I'd be all about it because I would feel more comfortable being able to just like go home and offline studying some of this stuff. And that was really hard for me. That was really hard for me as a newbie because I worked in enterprise. Even though I'd been working with WordPress, I've been working lightly with PHP, customizing some functions, tweaking the backend code a little bit. Going into enterprise and seeing PHP in action was a mind melter. Like, I came home from work absolutely beat, and I was taking courses. I was doing whatever I could. There was a Traversy Media course on Udemy called MVC with OOP. And I mean, that was just all these Udemy courses scratched the surface. And I had accepted a senior role at this company, and I was deep in it. I was deep in something. But yeah, once getting into enterprise and seeing PHP in action, really exciting. And then getting to the point where I could start building these features and refactoring things with PHP, that was really exciting. And then taking a WordPress site, I actually had a chance to build something completely from scratch in enterprise and adding features to it through my own problem solving. That was really validating. And once I know for a lot of people right now, they're looking at this, they're looking at some of these, let me go back to implosion or implode. Some people are probably looking at this and being like, okay, yeah, I have no interest in this. Honestly, it's just a matter of, it's kind of like a muscle memory thing where you look at it 5,000 times, you don't even think about it. As a new person, I know this is overwhelming. I know even, 5-6 lines of something that makes zero sense, it's tough. And if this is something, again, the community, we're so spoiled in JavaScript. One technique you might try, if you think PHP could be something you're interested in, or if there's a big job market in your area, start with JavaScript. Because even though JavaScript is tricky, the community, you're like raised by the village with JavaScript. And PHP, you're kind of a lone wolf. But, like I said before, if you go to meetups on these different community events, finding a mentor can really put things into motion. But one technique, like I said, start with JavaScript and then ease your way into something like this. And don't read the comments. Man, top comment, 306 upvotes, 11 years old. I think I don't know. I mean, personally, this live stream has already inspired me to get more involved in the PHP community because here I am complaining about the documentation. Like, it's easy for me to just sit here and whine about it, but what have I actually done about it besides do live streams, So it might be definitely something I want to contribute to. Let's go to the comments. Peter Lastoria says, Free Code Camp just put out a course on how to build PHP MVC from scratch. Also, Laracasts seems to have plenty of courses on PHP. Yes, okay, I wish I could star this comment. Can I pin this comment? No. I can only hide you, Peter Lastoria. I don't want to hide you. I want to pin that comment. I did see that. It's like 5 hours. That is super freaking exciting. Let's go check this out on the YouTubes. We'll do... Let's see. Free Code Camp PHP. So this is a resource I failed to mention also because Free Code Camp has been coming correct lately with some PHP stuff. Look at this. Laravel. Hey! RTC here. I see I had my annual video 10 months ago on PHP. That video has 40,000 views. Okie dokie. PHP programming language tutorial full course. This is from 2 years ago. 4 hours, 36 minutes. Use PHP to create an MVC framework. This was the one that popped up in my feed, developers.
MVC framework using PHP from absolutely scratch.
Yeah. I gotta give a shout out to Free Code Camp because for some time as a newbie, I did not appreciate them. I didn't see I didn't understand what they were trying to do. But now that I've matured in my career and what I do with my work as RTC, I can really dig what they're doing. This was just dropped yesterday, and I'm gonna note to self: FCC is on my list. I might start reviewing some of these FCC courses on my second channel because some of these are just as long as some courses on Udemy, honestly. Laravel PHP full course 2019. What else do we have? SQL. That's good to know too if you're doing LAMP stack stuff. Wow. Awesome. Thanks, Peter, for mentioning that because I did see that in my feed. I haven't checked it out yet, though. Mark Anthony says FCC doesn't teach LAMP stack, though. Is there a way? Does anyone know? Can you submit video ideas or tutorial ideas to FCC? Because a LAMP stack full course or a LAMP stack crash course would be absolutely freaking brilliant. Quincy, if you're watching this, or Bo, what do I got? Who do I got to talk to? I'm all. If you can't find anyone to teach the LAMP stack on FCC, I don't know how you vet your instructors. But if you can put up with a crazy person who is enthusiastic about PHP, I'm not committing to anything today, but I'm just saying if you can't find anyone, Bo, you have my email address. A LAMP stack tutorial on FCC would be really, really freaking helpful. Hey, Peter Fisher's back. He says, yes, Sarah, PHP 8 is coming on the 26th. Yep. Nerd says, does Codecademy have PHP? Pretty sure they used to, but might be imagining it. Not sure about that one. I know that Treehouse does have one, but I guess I need to lower my standards a bit because I'm so used to just like fire JavaScript courses that I'm not impressed with a lot of PHP stuff because, again, like I've been talking about this whole live stream, the talent pool is largely focused, the quantity. We have some very talented individuals in PHP, so please don't misquote me. The quantity of the talent is larger in JavaScript. We need some shifting. We need some shifting for sure to get that quantity going. But yeah, I mean, Team Treehouse, or Treehouse is, I guess, its name. We all call it Team Treehouse. Treehouse does have some videos on PHP. They're good for beginners. And I think that is probably one thing that I've noticed too, is that with JavaScript, we have the full spectrum. From zero to expert, wherever you are, there are a lot of entry points. With PHP education, there aren't a lot of entry points. Someone had mentioned Laracasts, Laracasts. That's a great site. In fact, let's go laracasts.com. I think that's what it is. Screencasts for the modern developer. Push your web development skills to the next level through expert screencasts on Laravel, Vue, and so much more. Now, originally, I thought Laracasts was just for Laravel and PHP, but apparently they're expanding their offerings here. It says Vue. They also have testing and tooling. Wow. I haven't visited this site in about a year, and wow, this looks really cool. I'm going to add this to my list of things to review on my other channel too, because when I last visited, I was checking out a few of their screencasts and it was really freaking good. $15 a month. I mean, that's pretty good. $100 a year for all this. Awesome. Thanks for mentioning that too. So we do have some additions. FCC, Laracast. Yeah, and this is going back to that thing about the aesthetic. Like, this is modern. This could be a JavaScript platform. Look at look at these colors. Look at this design. Look at this layout. This is really beautiful, right? Like, it's very attractive. It's very aesthetic. We need more of this stuff with PHP, and I do like how these two things can snuggle up together. You see, these things aren't exclusive once you get into the real world of software development. Some projects require PHP. Some projects are going to do better with Vue. Some projects you don't have a frickin' choice. Now, to be clear, some companies are very dead set on their tech stacks. Others are more flexible. Others have no idea which direction they're going, and you can pick anything and get away with it. It all really depends on your company, but I do like that with the community anyway. As far as the communities coming together, seeing Laravel next to Vue is really nice to see. Just gonna go check the comments here. Thanks everyone also for the super chats, and welcome Colin, new member here on the Java Suite. Yep, he's a Java Suiter. Got a little piece of candy next to his name. Lots of awesome comments here, developers. just one developer. Colin Perrin says JavaScript is definitely a great community. Yeah, I mean, that's one of its features in my opinion. Sarah says, I'm guessing because PHP 8 is being released soon. That is why our John Duckett book is being pushed back. I hope it's for a legitimate technical reason rather than like bureaucratic publishing purposes. Like, sorry, John, we had to cut our roster this year. Our editor is no longer available to review your book. Like, I hope he can say, yes, it's due to PHP 8. We had to make a few tweaks. We wanted to wait till PHP 8 came out. If that is the case, all might be forgiven. And I can stop lamenting the fact that this book has been pushed back for 3+ years. Like, literally, I started this channel in 2017, and that's a few months later, someone was like, hey, RTC, John Duckett, the author of JavaScript and jQuery, he's coming out with a PHP and MySQL book. I said, are you serious? Because even back then, I was having problems finding PHP resources. Let's see. Paradoodly with the rogue comment deletion. My mistake, meh. Didn't mean to delete. Meh. Meh, sorry your comment got mistakenly. You had a question or something. There was some sort of comment. Sorry I missed it, and sorry I got deleted. Zaya says Coding Phase has a couple massive courses with several projects on PHP and Laravel. He charges $20. Definitely resources to check out too. Hey RTC, Alex, what's up, Alex? Alex says, hey RTC, is there stuff of yours where you talk about working with the project manager? No. I've never had a project manager. I was an enterprise. We desperately needed a project manager. I talk about the utmost dysfunction in my book, Real Tough Software. I talk about my group, which was me and a senior developer, and the company, and how our projects got developed and how they became the massive 1 million+ line code bases that they were. But we did not have a project manager. The company owner did not think a project manager was appropriate. At one time, before I came to the company, that company did have a project manager and things were getting done. Once the project manager I don't know if he got fired, let go, or quit. I don't know how he left the company, but once that happened, and there were other forces too, things started taking a hit. And I was hired as a result of the mess that happened like a year previous to me getting hired. So I haven't had the honor of working with a project manager, and all my other work has been with freelancing and my small business. There is a possibility in the future I might hire a project manager. But for right now, no. Let's see. Peter Fisher says there's also symphony casts. Good to know. And I've heard of symphony casts. Haven't checked it out though. Ooh, Mr. Redhawk16 says, greeting from Barbados. Woo, woo. Welcome. Thanks for the candy drop. Wow, lots of new members here. Nick D, how's it going? J Beats and Waves. Everyone hit the like button, peeps. I agree. Holy crap, I have 200 viewers here? That's a record. I guess I better start taking things seriously. Headlights Go Up says, I want to dig into the API one soon. Moses says, talk to Quince about the lamp stack tutorial. I want to know, does anyone here have an in with FreeCodeCamp? Because I've been a guest on their channel and I have a good relationship with them, but it's not like I'm going to business lunches. If someone out there watching this is FCC affiliated, lamp stack, lamp stack, lamp stack. Let's see. Hello from Brazil. What's up, Bruno? Youssef, Morocco. Says, I am not Greek, though. Okay, sorry about that. I thought, yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to assume you were Greek. I just saw those words and I thought, uh-oh. Not uh-oh, but uh-oh for me, because there's no way I could pronounce that without completely slaughtering your name. Let's see. So many. 2,300 in Algeria. We got a lot of international people checking in. Great to see. Bega Al says, do you prefer more raw PHP or using frameworks? You know, my preference is frameworks for any language, usually, as a general rule, just because it's easier to prototype, it's easier to develop, it's easier to deploy. There are some instances where you can't use a framework, and you're forced into previous coding decisions, which is a lot of what you do at a 9 to 5. You deal, whether these previous coding decisions were good or bad, you're dealing with them. So when I'm working on a previous project, a lot of times there won't be frameworks. So PHP has a framework called Laravel, and it's really neat, and I personally think it's rad. But using it isn't always practical, and for the reasons I just explained, and also because of sometimes the client needs don't require a framework. Sometimes, believe it or not, there are projects out there that don't need a front-end framework. Believe it or not, there are projects out there that don't need a back end. So assessing a project is really step one. It's the biggest step in determining what technologies to use. Is this, and then it's going back to that hype-driven development thing, because if you are consumed by JavaScript is your hammer, everything's a nail. And JavaScript front end, JavaScript back end, JavaScript, just give them React. Sometimes they don't even need a framework, and it's overkill. Is it the worst thing in the world to give someone a framework when they don't need it? No, but it's not good practice. It's going to slow your code down. And if one of the cardinal rules of IT, and as GTD, one of our members pointed out in the Discord the other day, software development is a branch of IT. This is information technology. It is applied programming, whether you're doing web, desktop, IoT, etc. I don't even know what my original point was. We're in IT. Where was I going? I have no idea. This terminal is flashing in front of my eyes, and I'm getting quite distracted, like a cat with a chew toy in front of it, some sort of bouncy mouse. I don't remember. Sorry, developers. Let's go to the comments. Someone's from Rio. Sergio is from Rio. This live is being really helpful for me as I'm really considering to learn PHP. Thanks, Sergio, and I appreciate the feedback. Thanks for tuning in from Rio. I have been tuning in to a lot of vintage Brazilian music lately. I love the, is it called MBP, that genre of Brazilian music? I've been really listening to a lot of 70s MBP lately. Or MPB. I don't know which one it is, but 24/7 on my algo. Screenlooker says, I've been following Derek Bana's tutorials on PHP. It's been going all right. Let's see. Sean, what's going on? Edgar, welcome. Edgar wants to know, what do I think about Python? I think a lot of things about Python. I really love it. Unfortunately, if you're a developer of the web variety, there aren't a lot of opportunities. We have stuff like Django, Flask, micro framework, and they're neat. But unfortunately, compared to JavaScript, they're kind of slow. I think NPR uses Python for their backend, but really hard to find as far as web goes. If you're doing like machine learning, Python's great. Any type of AI stuff, you're training these models, Python. Also, A language I've started really researching lately is R. Do you have any R developers here, or statisticians? Anyone doing statistical analysis with R? Just throwing it out there. R is really neat, what you can do with it. But more to your question, Python is wonderful. It's a great newbie language. And if people are having trouble with JavaScript, now this is a dangerous statement, so I have to be careful what I say. But if you really can't stand JavaScript, you don't know if you want to do web, and you're looking for a hard reset with Python. It is such a forgiving language. It's very buoyant. It's very flexible. It's very friendly for newbies. You can do you can get up and running and create some really neat games really fast. You could use it anywhere. Even web development, like I mentioned, with some of these, in conjunction with some of these frameworks like Flask and Django, you can get up and running with some cool projects fairly quickly. Mark Anthony says, what are good PHP learning resources, though? Mark Anthony, where you been? So we've had Peter Fisher drop some really good resources. Number one, Laracasts. Now, this is not for the code newbie, I will say. This is more for advanced, beginner, intermediate, and even advanced. We have Free Code Camp, PHP programming language tutorial. They dropped Use PHP to create an MVC framework. We have the Edwin Diaz course, which, warning, I haven't checked that one out for quite a few years. The last time I checked that Edwin Diaz course was about 2.5 years ago. I don't know if it's even worth your time, but I'm saying that is something that I used a little bit early on. There is a lot of very beginner material. If you're like ground zero, coder or developer, Treehouse, like I said, they do have a video series. Peter Fisher had mentioned Symphony Casts, which I don't have experience with, but it sounds legit. Also, keep an eye out for the John Duckett book, PHP and MySQL. Also, W3 Schools. If you're just looking, if you don't want to commit, I would say, let's do W3 Schools. Let me check this out. W3 Schools, PHP. Easy learning with PHP, try it. With our online PHP Try It editor, you can edit the PHP code and click on a button to view the result. So as you can see here, this syntax, if you're a code newbie coming from JavaScript, these things look a little weird, right? Like, okay, why is there a question mark here? What's this question mark? Why is there not a closing bracket? This looks weird. Well, play around with it. And eventually, like I said, once you look at it 1,000 times, you won't even think about it. But the syntax is weird. The syntax is a little rusty. That is probably one of my biggest complaints as far as coming, again, from the perspective of someone who works with new developers. The syntax is not, it's just not doing it. But once you start building things is where the validation comes in, where pun possibly intended. But as far as feeling validated building some of these projects with PHP. Again, that's on W3 Schools. No commitment, like you're not installing MAMP, WAMP, or SHAMP. You're not installing stuff to run PHP. You're not installing a server or anything like that. You're just doing it right in the browser. So easy way to get started without committing. And it's free. CodeFlame says the Edwin Diaz Usenet course mentioned how I was picked up a lot of my PHP early on. I'm love at unit testing a PHP unit on my current job. Awesome. All right, Jonathan, CodeFlame, OOVNM, how's it going? Alex says Free Code Camp is confusing to me. That's fair. It was very confusing to me too as a beginner, and one of my earliest videos I did in 2017 was me just thumbs downing FCC because I didn't get it. And when I was using their curriculum, it was kind of like first of all, I was really frustrated because I had tried to use a lot of resources and none of them were really doing it for me. So I popped on to FCC and I registered and I was like, okay, this is going to be the one because you can get started really fast. And I'm like, yeah, I'm liking this. This workflow is awesome. You can do the questions right in the browser, at least some of the JavaScript stuff. And then I hit a brick wall and I'm just like, seriously? And so I did this video and I'm like, yeah, free code cam stinks. I don't like them. And I realized they're not for everyone, but they really have improved these past couple years, and they're offering a lot more things. Their YouTube channel is crazy prolific. They have over 2 million subscribers now, and they're doing tons of videos with tons of different guests. The production values are really good, but I also can understand how, one resource isn't going to do it for someone. For me, free code camp played a role later in my career for reasons unexpected. Like I said before, they had me on their channel. But as far as like helping me learn how to code, for me, I looked elsewhere. But I do appreciate what they do for so many people. And it is a great option for people who don't have money to spend on their dev education. Colin Paran says, what is everyone's thoughts on GraphQL using it with front ends? Code server is the way, local deving with a local IDE is not the way. Let's see. Jairus says, do you think a person's choice of a code editor IDE are critical as a PHP developer? Which would you recommend excluding VS Code? Great freaking question. I use PHP Storm. Now, I'm not going to open this because I'm working on a project I don't need you all to see. It default opens to that project. PHP Storm is a proprietary code editor, meaning you have to pay for it. However, as a person developing in PHP, it has totally just revolutionized my workflow with my personal projects, with my freelancing, with even when I was working enterprise. That was our code editor of choice. PHP Storm is a JetBrains product. Some of you may be familiar with their other editors like PyCharm. Let's see. Let me just show you guys. PyCharm. Some of you may be familiar with this. They also have, let's see, a lot of different IDEs. Look at all these IDEs. AppCode, CLion, DataGrip, Golang, IntelliJ for Java, PHP Storm, WebStorm, a whole suite of .NET stuff, but I use this one. Free 30-day trial, and here is a pro tip. If you are a student and you are receiving benefits from the GitHub Student Developer Pack, which if you're a student and you're not getting that developer pack, Google it and get signed up. You can thank me later. It's like $80,000 worth of stuff. Like literally, it's thousands upon thousands of free stuff. If you're a student, these IDEs are available as part of that package. And so if you're a student and you're enrolled in that GitHub developer pack, I did a video on it. Paradoodly, if you can find that video, the GitHub student developer pack details for 2020, pop it in the chat because I know this is going to help some people. Get signed up for that. Get validated and get signed up for that if you're a student, college or high school. This is part of it. And this, like VS Code, you can see down here my various editors. So I have 4 just on my menu bar here. Do I have 4 or 5? 1, 2, 3, 5. I have 5. So let me go through them because some people have asked me about this. Sublime Text I use for really quick edits, really quick scripts. VS Code I use for some projects. I use for training, for my courses and stuff. Atom, that is my go-to for a lot of medium-sized projects. Brackets I used once or twice. I keep it here because some people, when I'm doing consultations and one-on-ones, that's their code editor of choice. And PHP Storm is here because it's amazing, and I highly recommend it if you're going to be working with PHP. Great editors. All these tools, all of IntelliJ, again, that's for Java, Golang for Go. These are specifically built for specific programming languages. Love it. CLion, a cross-platform IDE for C and C++. And again, these cost money. I'm not sure how much. Is it $100 for a year? I forget. Oh dear. It's $199 for C, but all products are $650. But if you're part of that GitHub developer student pack, these are free for like a year or for however long you're a student. I think every year you have to recertify that you're a student, if indeed you are still a student. Incredible. So thanks for asking that. I'm a total fangirl. I love JetBrains products. I wish they'd make me an ambassador. I could make them lots of money because I just go ape over them every time I talk about PHP Storm and their other stuff. But it's really good quality. Symbol says, Coding Phase just put up a video of how MERN stack is terrible for junior developers because of the competition it has. Says PHP is good. C#. Is Python good, though? The context really depends. I mean, it all depends on the context. Python, for machine learning, it's mandatory. Absolute must. For web development, not so much. Game development, C# or desktop stuff. If you're going to be working at a .NET shop, got to be familiar with the Microsoft ecosystem. It really depends on the context. Pedro Depcast says, we use NetBeans in my college class. It reminded me kind of like VS Studio, not VS Code, how it asks options for the projects. NetBeans, I use that too. I took more than one Java course, so I have like ridiculous, silly amount of credentials and like different pieces of paper that said I graduated. So I've taken more than one Java. I've taken 2 Java courses in the course of my life. And both times, no, that's not true. The first time around, I used NetBeans and I was like, I just wasn't really feeling it. It seemed a little, I think I was using like an older version because it just seemed like kind of crusty. So I haven't used it in quite some years. But I am somewhat familiar with it. Oh, whoops. Okay, Craig says I was looking at the price for organizations on the JetBrains site. C-Line was only $89 a year. Okay, that's my bad. Sorry about that. Let's go back because that's a significant difference. Go to the buy button for individual use. Okay, that's my bad. Sorry, everyone. Yearly, this is for C and C++. It's called C-Line. It's $89. And then all products, which is 15 tools, $249. So yeah, I was on the organization price. Sorry about that. Thanks for bringing that up and clarifying a big financial difference there. All right. Colin says, actually, R was my first ML. Jarius says, my wife is a test analyst. She opened Eclipse. Ew. Yes, I used Eclipse. I have Eclipse somewhere on this machine. Don't get me started. Yeah. Colin says, forgot my roots. R is a must too. Only rookies think it is R versus Python. Nick says, ugh, Eclipse. I tried so hard to love that IDE. I did too. And that was, I think at the time for my second Java core, I had NetBeans. I'm the type of person, I'm like an IDE hoarder. These are just the ones I have on my little menu bar here. I have a lot more in the back of the van. So I have NetBeans, JetBrains, frickin' Eclipse. Yeah, Eclipse was a tough one for me too. Going here to IntelliJ. Some people don't like IntelliJ. I do. But it's all, you spend a lot of time behind an IDE, so you want to find one that you like. That goes for just non-IDEs too, like your humble code editors like Sublime Text 2. But you gotta like it because that's where you're going to be spending most of your time. Or at least tolerate it. Pydro, what's up? We have 201 people here right now. That is awesome. If you could, guys, do me a favor, hit that like button. Show the YouTube algorithm that this channel is kind of cool. Hamad says, is that a bad idea to develop Node.js applications on Windows? I love Windows, but on the other hand, I love Node.js and programming too. Don't know what I should do. Do you have WSM installed? Windows Subsystem, or WSL rather, Windows Subsystem for Linux? If you do, which you should have that available to you. I would recommend setting WSL up because a lot of people are on Windows, and that WSL functionality is really going to make your life better. And that way you can have fun with the stuff we're having fun with on Mac and Linux. Leo says, I have IntelliJ, but have been using Eclipse for a while. Luis FCD says machine learning R is must, only newbies use Python. I won't touch that comment. Thanks for the comment. I can't get into that one though. I'm gonna have my effigy burning outside my door by the time this live stream's over. Let's see. Paradoodly, if you're still here, did you find that GitHub video for the student pack? Peter Fisher says PHP Storm plus xdebug plus xdebug plus Docker equals PHP sweet spot. I'm glad you mentioned that too, because getting into PHP, for me, what really started getting me comfortable with the language was having a good setup. You know, as I just mentioned, like when you're coding, you're spending hours upon hours with your IDE. You're spending hours upon hours with the documentation. If you have to spend time with something, make sure it's something you kind of like. If possible, make sure it's something you do actually like. And when I started using PHP Storm, it made me feel better about the language. My environment felt better. And it's these little things, these little incremental things that you can start adding to your workflow that make things fun. Like programming shouldn't have to be a bore or a snooze or, you know, an uphill thing. When you're trying to learn something, especially when you're trying to learn it, you're going to have frustrating moments, but it should be enjoyable for at least, like, you should be going like, yes, there should be those yes moments. When your code compiles or when you're running something, you can finally see it for the first time or use it. Or even just when you're inside your code editor, having these tools and having a collection that creates a workflow that works for you. You know, so I want to emphasize it's okay to experiment. I mean, absolutely, it's better than okay. You should be experimenting. And don't be afraid of breaking things early on because they can be easily fixed. You don't have the responsibility. It's a luxury being a newbie because you don't have the responsibility of having to maintain $1 million application or a $20 million or $100 million app. You're still building things from the ground up, you know, green field development, everything from scratch, having fun with it. That only comes once in your developer career. You're only a newbie once. We're always learning things, and we're always newbies in certain specific areas. But as far as in general, being a code newbie only happens once. So enjoy the ride and experiment with things that give you that fire off some sort of neuron activity in your brain. It shouldn't be torture. Now, granted, there are going to be some days where you're going to want to walk away. I totally get it. But for the most part, find tools that you like using. For me, it was PHP Storm. I use VS Code, again, for tutorials and like courses and stuff. It's not my go-to. I don't have Marie Kondo moments. I don't find joy in VS Code. A lot of people love it. That's something you should stick with. If you love it, keep going with it, you know? Let's see. Paradoodly Doo said, Haman of Love, stop spamming the same question. Yes, developers, I shouldn't have to say this. Most people on the live chat are really good about this, but we do consistently see people asking the same question over and over. I'm just saying it right now. If you ask the same question over and over, you're going to get banned from the channel. That's because you're spamming the channel at this point. We don't allow spam. So please don't. We want to have you participate, but not in a spammy way. And again, if you really want your question answered, send me a super chat. It's the only way I can see it. Let's see. So many new members here. Welcome. Shahid says, RTC, could you please help me picking out Viewer React.js for our payroll development? Shahid, I can't. Not enough information, my friend. Not enough information. Let's see. Dragon Ball Super, what's up? Cole McTarmish, hey everyone, which Discords would be best to join for web or software development? Chris Peterson, Instagram's backend was built using Python. Interesting. All right, developers, it's 5:38. We've been here quite some time. Let me wrap this up. The too long didn't watch of this entire video. Python is not dead. Python is not outdated. You're going to keep hearing it. You're going to keep hearing it from people. You're going to keep hearing it from influencers. We don't teach you outdated technologies. I really feel like that is a covert form of gatekeeping. It's personal preference getting in the way of jobs and opportunities. I want to emphasize, I love these instructors. Some of these influencers I follow and am influenced by. I follow people too, and I keep up with a lot of the news as well. But as someone, again, whose primary mission is to onboard new developers, it is my obligation to let you know that PHP is not dead, PHP is not outdated, PHP has many opportunities for you, and it's really exciting. WordPress, smaller companies, business, even some startups that are working with smaller businesses. We have technologies like headless WordPress. Exciting developments. There was it 2 years ago where WordPress's the Gutenberg editor was built with React. So it's not like they're not living in a silo in North Dakota. Like, WordPress is integrated. And also, my subscriber and longtime supporter Ian sent me this article. We'll talk about this next week. WordPress linking up with Google to work together. Now, if Google is reaching out to WordPress to work with them, that to me doesn't imply dead or outdated. Google doesn't work with dead stuff. Google doesn't work with something that's crusty and dusty. They're a very technologically progressive company, and they're reaching out to people who are also of that, and companies and organizations that are also of that mindset. We'll talk about that next week. We talked about learning strategies, some resources. Thanks, Peter Fisher, for dropping some good resources I was not aware of. SymphonyCast, also Laracasts. I knew about that one, but that was something I didn't even think about mentioning on the channel today. FCC, if you're out there, thank you for what you do. We're looking forward to a LAMP stack tutorial. If anyone can do it, it's FCC. They're doing some great stuff. And we hope to see that somewhere. If not FCC, then somewhere. Perhaps even on this channel if it can't happen. Again, one of the reasons I haven't is because we need someone bigger. We need some big time. We need some people at the top with these million-seller Udemy courses saying some better things about our poor friend PHP. Developers, also, as a final note, my book, Portfolio Surgery, is dropping. I'm not even gonna, you know what? Should I? Why, yes, I will. Portfolio Surgery is dropping November 16th. If you want to revamp your portfolio, check it out. It's a one-click pre-order. Also, our featured course of the month, Freelance Newbie, over on RealToughCandy.io, where you can start making money today with your developer skills. Check the testimonials, like I said. If you don't have to take my word for it, we have a whole page of them, ranging from Brad Traversy to lots of other people who are now in the industry or working on getting in the industry. So thank you for watching. Thank you for the super chats, guys. Like, seriously, Paradoodly, Donovan, Robbo the Fossil, and Colin, welcome to your new membership. Welcome, new subscribers. It was really great seeing everyone today. I think this was the highest live stream as far as participants I've ever had. So this was really great to see. So many new subscribers. Thanks so much, developers. This is happening live next Friday, same time, same place. Have a great weekend, and I will see you on the Discord.